Welcome to the Deep Dive. We unpack complex topics, really try to get you to the heart of what's important. Today, we're taking on a, a really hot-button issue. It's igniting a major political clash across the U.S. We're talking about the battle over congressional maps, the power of redistricting. We've got quite a stack here. Fascinating articles, social media back and forth, some deep reports that lay out exactly what seems to be happening.
Right. And our mission for you today really is to cut through all that noise, to help you understand the core strategies, the high-stakes political games being played, and ultimately what it all means for future elections and maybe most importantly for voter representation. We're looking at who's doing what, why it matters, and, some surprising ways states are pushing back.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Our sources, they suggest this whole escalating situation, it really kicked off with Texas Republicans.
Texas.
They're in the process right now of redrawing their state's congressional districts. And the goal seems pretty explicit. Gain 5 more seats in the House.
5 seats. That's ambitious.
It is. It would strengthen their narrow majority ahead of the 2026 midterms. And what's really striking here is that this push, it was explicitly encouraged by former President Trump. He apparently said he wanted, and I quote, just a simple redraw. We pick up 5 seats.
Just a simple redraw. Famous last words, perhaps, in politics?
Maybe so.
Yeah.
The first draft of this potential new map, it actually dropped on July 30th, 2025. And you can imagine the initial Democratic reactions, well, not happy. There were immediate calls for California, specifically, to do something.
Right. And what does a simple redraw like that actually look like? Targeting 5 seats. How aggressive is that, practically speaking?
Well, that's the thing. A simple redraw can hide some incredibly complex calculations. Aiming for 5 seats, that's definitely highly ambitious. It shows a clear intent to really leverage population shifts, for maximum political gain.
It's a move designed to reshape the electoral map pretty dramatically. And it was exactly that ambition, I think, that drew immediate fire. It led straight to this direct clash we're seeing.
Okay, so how did that play out?
Well, J.B. Vance. He saw these concerns about Texas, it seems, and he turned the spotlight right onto California. He put out this social media accusation, basically.
What did it say?
He tweeted, let me see. The gerrymander in California is outrageous. Of their 52 congressional districts, 9 of them are Republican. That means 17% of their delegation is Republican when Republicans regularly win 40% of the vote in that state. How can this possibly be allowed?
Okay, so he's pointing to a disparity there. Vote share versus seat share. And California Governor Gavin Newsom's response, I heard it was pretty quick.
Oh, it was swift. And frankly, it went viral. He just tweeted back, try again, dum-dum.
Wow. Okay, that's direct.
Very direct. And he didn't just leave it at the words. He included a map. It looks like it's from a 2024 World Population Review.
And what did that map show? Did it back up Vance's point?
Okay. Quite the opposite, actually. It really flipped the script. Out of 11 states, the map identified as the most gerrymandered. 10 of them, places like Arkansas, Kentucky, North Carolina, Ohio, Texas itself, Wisconsin.
Right.
10 of them were shown to favor Republicans.
10 out of 11.
Yeah. Only one state on that map, Maryland, was shown to favor Democrats. So while Vance was hitting California, Newsom basically shot back with data suggesting, hey, look at the bigger picture nationwide. Who's really benefiting most here?
That's quite a counter-argument, using data to push back on the accusation. So, okay, this raises a big question then. What's California actually planning to do about this fire with fire situation? Newsom didn't just stop at a tweet, right?
No, he didn't. And that brings us to California's, well, pretty audacious potential countermove.
He's clearly stated his intention to retaliate if Texas does move forward with its map. He said something like, California won't sit back and watch this happen.
Strong words.
And he seems to have some backup. We're seeing comments of support from other prominent Democrats, people like Governor Kathy Hochul in New York, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Elisa Slotkin.
So there's pressure building, but here's the really interesting part, the twist, maybe. California's system.
Ah, the Independent Commission.
Exactly. Unlike a lot of states where the politicians in charge draw the maps, California typically uses an independent commission. Voters put that in place back in 2008 for state maps and then expanded it for congressional districts in 2010. It's specifically designed to be, well, nonpartisan, or at least less partisan.
Which makes it a lot harder for Newsom to just, order up a retaliatory gerrymander. That's a major hurdle.
A huge hurdle. So his proposed solution, it's pretty bold, almost like a constitutional Hail Mary, as you put it earlier.
What is it?
He wants to call a special election, probably the first week of November. And the ballot question would essentially ask California voters to approve changes that would temporarily set aside that independent commission.
Temporarily suspend the commission the voters themselves created.
That's the idea, his justification. He's framing it as a necessary response to, and these are his words, the rigging of the system by the President of the United States.
So blaming Trump's push in Texas as the reason for this drastic move in California?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
He emphasized it would be a transparent way for voters to weigh in on these, quote, new circumstances, new realities. And he did promise the plan would be to return to the independent commission system by 2030.
Okay, but the timeline on that, getting something on a November ballot now, that sounds incredibly tight.
It's extremely tight. They'd need all the materials ready by late September, basically.
And the cost. A statewide special election in California can't be cheap.
No. The estimate is over $200 million.
$200 million just for this.
That's the figure being reported. Newsom's comment on that was basically, there's too much at stake to worry about the cost right now.
Wow. That amount. It really tells you something about how valuable these congressional seats are perceived to be, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It signals just how high the stakes truly feel in this current political moment. $200 million is a massive investment. And if we zoom out, connect this to the bigger picture. This isn't just Texas and California locking horns.
Right. This whole idea of mid-decade redistricting, redrawing maps outside the usual post-census cycle, it's raising alarms elsewhere, too.
Yes. You hear politicians on both sides kind of acknowledging, maybe reluctantly, that this isn't how it's supposed to work.
Right.
There's that phrase, doing the rounds in D.C., the race to the bottom. Senator John Kennedy, Republican from Louisiana, he noted, both sides are doing it, and it's not a good thing. He added, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction in politics.
That's a stark admission.
Yeah.
And Senator Chris Murphy, a Democrat from Connecticut, had a similar, maybe more forceful take. He said, I hate what Texas is doing, but if they're going to do it, of course we have to fight back. And then he added this line, democracies die when the regime plays outside the box and the opposition decides to stay inside the box.
That's a powerful framing. It really captures this dilemma. Stick to principles or fight fire with fire, even if you dislike the tactic.
Exactly. It makes you wonder, if everyone goes down this road, what happens to the map overall? Does it just become a permanent battlefield?
That's the core worry, isn't it? And there's another layer here, something important to understand about the dynamic. It's often structurally harder for Democrats to draw more favorable maps in the blue states they control.
Why is that?
Because in many cases, those states are, well, seen as being already gerrymandered extensively in their favor. There might not be much more juice to squeeze out, politically speaking.
So they've already maximized their advantage in past rounds.
Often, yes, or at least pushed it quite far. Let's look at the numbers Vance cited, but maybe from a different angle. In California, Trump got 38% of the vote in 2024. Republicans hold only 17% of the seats, the big gap, 21 points.
Right.
But you see similar 20-plus point gaps favoring Democrats in places like New Jersey and Illinois, too. The maps are already very efficient for Democrats there.
Okay, I see. So less room to maneuver compared to, say, Texas.
Potentially. Look at Texas, where this current map is being challenged. Kamala Harris got 42% of the vote in 2024. Democrats hold 34% of the seats. The gap is smaller there, suggesting maybe more potential for Republicans to shift things with a redraw.
And there's that demographic element in Texas, too, right? With Hispanic voters.
Exactly. That's a key part of the Republican calculation, according to our sources. Trump got about, 34% of the Latino vote there in 2016 against Clinton. That reportedly jumped to 55% in 2024 against Harris. That's a massive shift.
55%. Wow.
It's a significant number, and Republicans clearly want to capitalize on that. The proposed Texas map seems to specifically target districts in the metro areas, Austin, Dallas, Houston, and also in South Texas, where those shifts have been pronounced.
A very targeted strategy based on those changing voter patterns. So what are Texas Democrats doing in response? They can't be happy about this.
No, they're definitely not sitting idly by. They're gearing up for a fight. They're fundraising, partly to potentially face these daily $500 fines. Fines for what?
And threats of arrest from the Attorney General Ken Paxton if they decide to leave the state to break the quorum.
The quorum bust strategy, like they've done before, to physically prevent the legislature from voting.
Precisely. deny the Republicans the numbers needed to pass the bill. That's an expensive move. Estimates are it would cost about $1 million a month just to finance relocating and supporting the legislators out of state.
$1 million a month. That's serious commitment. What about national support?
The DNC, the Democratic National Committee, is getting involved too. They're apparently deploying tens of thousands of advocates, and they're planning to spend $20 million specifically on lawsuits challenging these redistricting efforts.
So a multi-pronged approach.
Yeah.
Legislative maneuvering, grassroots organizing, and legal challenges. But, it's interesting. Not all Democrats seem to be on board with the fight fire with fire map-drawing approach in places like California. That's true. There are differing viewpoints. Senator Elizabeth Warren, for example, argued that Democrats don't need to redraw maps in retaliation. Her argument was more that Republicans are doing this because they're, quote, afraid of their own constituents and their own policies.
So a more ideological stance, suggesting Democrats should win on policy, not map manipulation.
Right. It highlights that internal debate within the Democratic Party about tactics versus principles in this environment.
This deep dive, really, it just lays bare this incredibly intense battle for control in Congress, doesn't it? It's moving beyond just policy debates into fights over the very lines on the map, the lines that decide who votes for whom. It feels foundational.
It really does feel foundational. And this whole situation, it kind of compels us to ask that bigger question, doesn't it? In an era where partisan maneuvering feels this aggressive, how do we actually ensure that principle? The idea that, as Senator Cornyn put it, voters picking their politicians, not the other way around. How does that remain truly at the heart of the process?
That's the critical question.
Given everything we've talked about, Texas, California, the costs, the justifications, the race to the bottom fear, what really stands out to you thinking about the future of fair representation? Where do we even go from here?